Hello gamers and welcome to another YouTube video, this time on the M48 Patton. It got some pretty significant buffs in 2.0, and does it make it better than a Leopard 120? Let's find out in the video. So what got changed on the Patton in 2.0, fellas? Well, it's honestly pretty big buffs for this tank. The M46 also got buffed, but that's maybe for a different look. Dispersion during movement, minus 30%. Dispersion on cultivars, minus 30%. Traverse speed, up 5 degrees. Dispersion on turret traverse. Dispersion after firing. All of this basically make it very, very, very good gun handling wise, which means a very nice thing is that you no longer need stabilizers. You can play without stabilizers and be totally fine as well. So the buff here is aimed at just making the general gun feeling a lot better instead of touching armor, HP, or anything else. Alright, so welcome to the M48 Patton. Let's answer the big question first. M40 or M60? M60. Why the gun is better at the end of the day? 350 heat is something incredible. On top of being just generally faster, it is just a better tank for the more experienced player. Now, the Patton did get quite big buffs in 2.0. Basically meaning it no longer needs a stabilizer whatsoever. Because the gun handling is actually very, very good now. Which you could see in the beginning. So, the fact that this got buffed as much, it's cool because now you can just run HP Turbo Rammer without a problem, because the Patton is really not the fastest medium, so you kind of want a turbo to begin with. HP is always good to have, and Rammer, well, Rammer is always a solid choice nonetheless, right? But what they didn't change about the Patton is the turret, and to me this is why the Patton is still very weird, because sometimes the turret works and sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on what they hit. You saw it in the beginning that the Patton has this kind of turret. Sometimes it bounces, sometimes it doesn't. Kind of unreliable. I complained about a tank recently that had the same issues as the Patton in terms of unreliable turret. I don't even remember which one it was now, but it was one of the recent videos. The good thing is, though, that the tank is better with the buffs, and the Hacker is a phenomenal tank. The Hacker's design of the turret is much, much better than the Patton. It still has this weak area, but it also has a very strong part that you can actually play around, making it quite reliable. Compared to this one. So, scam number one right there. Yeah, no. The Patton third feels kind of unreliable, and that's why you're going to have a lot of games where you're like, kind of annoying in a way. So, nonetheless, I mean, the fact remains it has a great tier 11, and the tank itself is not that bad now. Not every tank can be amazing, right? And not every tank should be amazing. The buffs definitely improved it. Could have done with maybe a little bit of turret, sure. Does it really need that little bit of turret? Probably not. I mean, nonetheless. Here we're going to be playing, again, a difficult situation for most people, which is playing on top of the hill of Malinovka. So far we're 349 damage in, which could have been 2k, or unfortunately the E5 peeks in front of his other friend in the E5 and shields his cupola without ever knowing such a thing. That was actually a bad shot. But this could have been more already, and this is one of those scenarios where it's a tough fight for the Patton, because you're not sure whether you're going to get penetrated or not. At least, with the M60, you always just expect them to penetrate you. Like you don't rely on the turret whatsoever. With the Patton, it's a little bit different. You do need to rely on it a little bit just because of the way the gun plays. And you can say whatever you want. On paper, the Hacker and Patton gun are the same, but in reality, the Patton gun feels quite a lot worse most of the time in terms of hitting shots. But in this battle, we got 2.5k blocking, so the turret ends up working, which again is not something you can rely on, nonetheless. But if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It just wish you could, kind of guess when this was going to be. Trying to get some shots against the E100, of course, with 330 heat pen, which is like, what, 338 with the ammo tuning. You're not going to be penning an E100, but, in this battle, we just had the luck of the Irish that the gun was working, and that at the same time, the turret was actually working out as well. But this is honestly pretty difficult gameplay to fulfill, which is again why I think that most people will not be enjoying the M48 Patton, or probably won't even like the hacker that much, even though, you know, M48 is fine now and the hacker is really good. Is that the gameplay required to make these tanks work is that of up close and personal, and you don't really excel at anything, you know, like in the Patton's case, you don't excel at speed, you don't excel at having a gun, you don't excel at armor, so it's like a little bit of everything, but nothing too amazing on every part of the scale. You don't win an alpha either, or DPM. So to utilize that combination, you need to be a lot more experienced. But, you know, it's just to review this tank after 2.0 hits, and you are going to have good games in this, or you know, you should have good games in this. But I think it will be hard again to do this consistently. There is going to be battles where, you know, the turret doesn't work. Like in this game, for example, I bounce half of the shot less, I'm dead. It's unpredictable how it's going to hold up in a lot of situations. And, you know, after playing a lot of like 340 tanks recently, playing a 330 pen, it's like 340 really is the sweet spot in this game. Once you have that, it just feels amazing. 330 feels good, but it's like, sometimes. But nonetheless, you know, we won the top of the hill. We beat E5s, we beat E100, and now you can see just the gun in action now. Even after coming from the full move, we're coming out and blasting shots, and you know, the gun is definitely good still. It just has this moments where it likes to miss everything. Like it just turns itself off and decides to miss every single shot known to mankind. But you know, in this game, it's the classic Malinovka, which is why I don't even want to go on the hill anymore from the other side. You always lose the top of the hill. Is there a real explanation behind it? I don't know. It just feels like you just always lose it, no matter what you do. I'm just blasting towards the Hori. Shot goes outside. Don't end up penning that. Next shot is actually not going to hit him either. From checking after. And this last shell is also going to end up missing him. Now we're on to APCR, which I didn't realize at the time. It means that I got to aim for the full lower plate. But yeah, classic Malinovka, to be honest. Goes slightly, it actually goes exactly where we aimed, which is slightly too high. It's classic Malinovka, you know, you win the hill, you steamroll down, and you kill all of them, and they're unable to stop you. Because the enemy team loses the hill, they lose a few guns in the process as well, and then they end up losing altogether. So, you know, it was a quick 7k, pretty good game, pretty good for the brawl scenario as well, especially beating E5s that have 340 heat. Was pretty good, just to show that the turret can work. But yet again, I wouldn't be relying on this too much whatsoever. And this is where, you know, I would love to be an M60, simply because the M60 would be going like, what, 60 plus at this point? You know, be zooming towards the enemy. The Patton feels pretty slow for a medium. This guy doesn't have controlled impact, by the way, and it's 140, which is why we ram him for 412, and we only take 37 damage back. Ending it at a nice 8.3k damage. Alright. Second battle. Murovanka. My point from the previous video still stands. Whenever I play this map, I don't really know what to do. My favorite play now is just go 3-4 line and, you know, play from E3 and play from that point on. It's mixed results, to be honest. Sometimes great, sometimes terrible. Depends a little bit. Sometimes does absolutely nothing. I like it more than driving through the 2 line because you don't have people on the corner usually. And I feel like it works better from this side than the other side. But you bypass most of the initial aimers from the 2 line, from the 1 line. And you take an outside through inside. It's just something they usually don't expect, to be honest. I mean, especially from nobody really ready to shoot the 3 line initially if you're fast enough. Like quick mediums, heavies, mid speed. I don't think you're in danger of really getting countered for this most of the time. Patton is, of course, not that fast, but like I said, you know, from north, they're never really looking at this. And I don't think they can do it effectively either without exposing themselves too much, because the north overpeak is pretty severe. IHM is lucky that there's a building in the way. However, I'm not afraid. Commit out, give him a shot. 458, good start. Finding the second as well, and you know the beauty of this 3-4 lane position is indeed that you can counter back the light from north, which has the advantage in the beginning of the game. But if you kill him like we did, then of course you flip-flop this advantage back. Sadly, the IS-7 doesn't seem to be the most intelligent bunch of the two. They managed to get around the corner though without taking a single shot of damage, which is honestly impressive if you saw how many tanks were behind. So they're just, you know, quickly rolling around the corner, because why not? 505, of course, that's because of the Borkenkäfer's ability, increasing the damage received on that IS-7. And, you know, it's pretty tough when this happens, and this is a good example of what can and will happen when you take outside to inside. Sometimes there's just nothing to be done. Like, you cannot stop them when they're this healthy from doing something stupid. If they want to do something stupid, they will do it. You get 2.6k damage out of that, but you feel at the same time it's like awful, because the game's kind of over most of the time in this scenario. The Mino learning a hard reality as well, there, that his tank can get penned. Can also be bounced, to be honest, depends a little bit. But at this point, you know, every peak could be your last, and there's not much you can do about that. That's why there's the risk of going out inside to outside, is that when you run into the right enemy team, they will just roll around the corner and kill you. And sometimes they will all die for it and they'll have a great game. Sometimes they will just murder your ass and there's nothing to be done. But finding some good shots against the Mino here, and you know, like, let's be real, he's not making it very hard either. Not really trying to cover his weak points whatsoever, just kind of sitting there and taking it. Okay, you know, he could definitely have tried to readjust, try to do something, but it's good for our damage though. We're at almost 4k, Theater 3 out in the open as well. Make sure to hit that. We always aim for about the second track wheel on the Theater 3, simply because the Amarok is located in roughly the same position as the E5, right? So which means that if you can go for it reliably, you do go for it. It's the same position on the S-Hunk as well, Theater 3 and Amarok machine. So why not take a shot if you have it? The E100 is on reload, everything else has been spotted. This is 3 peaks on the E100 now. And, you know, we're playing out the scenario pretty well at this point in terms of finding damage. We found the Mino, we're finding the E100 as well. We did about 3k damage so far on being a one-shot. That's a pretty good result. And now we're deciding to push down the 2-line, but to be honest, we should have already been turning around here towards the K-line, because the Borkenkäfer on our team actually managed to not kill himself on the forest side and fell back to a pretty good bush, which is spotting out the tanks crossing K-line, which you can then go farm, of course, as well. I realized this a little late, but do start heading back towards the K-line. But of course, it's gonna cost us that we waited a while with turning around, because we would have already been in position to do 2-3 shots at this point. We will still get in position nonetheless, but like I said, it's honestly late. Well, we find one against the Panzer 7. We find one against the 43U as well, or not. Could hope that you would find one, but you know, missed that too. To be fair, at the same time, not fully aimed. Could have been doing better. Find this shot though, which hits his fuel tanks, which the next guy is the one to set him on fire. Even though, you know, we did all the work for that fire, somebody else gets rewarded. That's life, I guess. You know, you do all the hard work and the CEO of the company runs away with it. And then he runs away with your wife as well if she's working at HR at a Coldplay concert. So, you know, it is what it is. What can you do? He's safe in the hole, so we can't do anything about that anymore. But, you know, we did a really, really good amount of damage on a one-shot. You know, 4k on 198 HP. It's just a really good display of staying alive and doing some damage, but also missing a bunch of damage. Which is where you can see the Patton gun does like to be difficult, yeah? If you're expecting something more along the lines of the hacker, which on paper is the same, be ready to be disappointed. This gun is moody, I would call it. It is moody. Sometimes amazing, sometimes less than that. But, you know, as I said, moody, how I would describe it. You'd expect to hit something at this point, but yeah. Sometimes it'd be like that. Sometimes. That's just the pattern gun as I remember it. But we find good damage nonetheless. The only sad thing is, you know, this is going to be like an 8k battle roughly. But it could have been 9k if the gun's a little better, to be honest. If we're a little quicker run turning back, it's a 9k. In this case, it's an 8.2. Still a really, really good game for a pattern nonetheless. But, you know, always could be more. So, third and last replay. Let's start off with, you know, ranting about how bad Sand River West really is, bro. It's unbelievable. This replay is from the good side of the map, but I've gotten Sand River West 5 times as much as Sand River East in the last like few weeks, and by God, it makes me so unhappy playing from the other side. Middle is shit. 1-2 line is shit. A line is shit. It's all shit. The guy that comes up with a successful play from Sand River West is a genius. Like, I'm serious. Like, no matter what happens, yeah, your team cannot win K-line because you get shit on from all the back angles. Your team, when you go through north, I mean, first of all, they take A8 away from you, and you're probably already in trouble. But if you do manage to take the A0, like, you can't even push out of it because they're just sitting in the base and owning you. They have this super good balcony at F6, 7, 8, 9. Like, those balconies all across that are just, like, superior. When you drive down middle, Wargaming decided to give East an H8 position. It also just rails you in the middle. And if you go K-line, they simply have better positions than you. And if you somehow sit at J1, they just push up on K1 and kill all of you. So it's like garbage. Like, no matter what happens, like, Sand River West is probably one of the worst experiences in this game. I swear to God. I'm just wondering if people are like aligned with this feeling. But either way, on this replay, I'm going heavily K-line aggressive. And so I have plenty of support, so we decided to go straight over. We're lucky that Hirsch didn't hit us. But, you know, we went super aggressive instantly. A bit of luck to dodge some shots, but we're about to, like, really... It's just unfortunate that the 40U pushed us, so we lost our gun depression, but nonetheless... Like, this is what I'm talking about. The moment you push into K1, which is what I am doing right now, you just like completely isolate the tanks that are up close and push them back, which means that they get shot from the middle and from that balcony that I mentioned earlier. This I7 already knew what was up. He decided that, you know, he'd rather die a hero than live to become another victim. I don't know. Sadly, he just turned himself into a victim nonetheless and died all the same. But, you know, we take K1. The E5 doesn't even realize what happened. He's waiting for the payment to come through. But it's a prime example of what happens when you get pushed up early. Like, you see their team is just crumbling. They don't have any positions whatsoever. They don't have north, they can't progress in the middle, and you know what, this middle part is kind of on them because I see so many people do this going middle from either side of Sand River, and it's just so useless because mid is the most overrated place in this map. Like, it's just, you just sit there, and if you lose north, you're in trouble, and if you lose south, you're definitely in trouble. That kind of goes from both sides. It's like, you're not really achieving almost anything from there most of the time. But it's a good showcase of what happens when you play from a good side of the map and decide to press your advantage, and your teammates are also at the same time doing the right play, which is going south, even though some people on in different aspects of YouTube have claimed that north is the way to play this map, which is absolutely crazy if you think about it. Because the only, like, real play on Sand River East is K-line. Like, if you hold K-line in mid, you win the game. Basically every single time. Like, there's only 3 points you need. It's like J1, G6, and F9. As long as you do that, your team is never losing. It's, yeah. Anyways, we're farming off pretty well, though. We played super aggressively. We put them in a bad position, and now they're just, like, suffering for the mistakes that have been made And this is kind of how to get max potential even out of a tank like a Patton. You know, you gotta play, and I always say you gotta play more medium range, man, or close range. In this regard, I was very confused how this Patton was able to do what he's doing, which is overpeak me from the position and not take any damage back. Luckily, I made it back just on time, missing the shot there because of gun depression. But nonetheless, you know, we got a pretty good game out of it, and our 5.8, and you know, we perform best when we're low HP anyways, right? So we'll see how this one plays out. Final shot against the mouse, 6.2, and I mean, you see, it's been only 4 minutes and they're crumbling. And this was a high HP game because it was tier 11, tier 10, no ID with only 1 light, so there was very high initial HP, which definitely doesn't make it any better for them. KR1 tries to kill us though. He gets blasted for that. Pick up the assist as well, you know, playing for the team, and then he ends up missing the shot anyways, so I guess he's probably not too happy about that. Because we are a team player and we want to give more experience to my friends, I decided not to kill him and move on to do full damage on the 277. Simply because, you know, I want somebody else to be able to get the experience from making a kill. It's just me being kind, and you know, in 4 or 5 minutes, pretty good result, to be honest.